Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Decline Invite, the only invite worth accepting. I'm really happy to be back. It was a long February off on my side, and today I'm really excited because I have somebody great again joining me graciously from across the pond. I have my good friend, Damion Mairs-Ingram. Welcome to Decline Invite, Damion.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, it's good to see you, Ryan. It's been a while. We've been a while
It's
we spoke. And thanks for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. So Damien, you got a lot of highlights here. The theme of today's episode is AI first engineering leadership with yours truly. And so just diving right into your background right off the get-go. It's a greatest hits list. You've got 20 years technology, 20 plus years in technology, 9+ years in leading high performing engineering organizations. You've led teams, it says, up to 30 engineers across cloud native, AWS, microservices, DevOps environments, delivered over 25% productivity gains through AI first engineering practices. You're known, which I personally love this next one, known for building psychologically safe, diverse, and globally distributed engineering cultures, senior engineering leadership at Iris Software Group, as well as the Access Group. It also says you were a founder and a consultant with experience across finance, healthcare, government, and social care technology. Chartered manager, AWS certified and certified in cybersecurity, and passionate about sustaining scalable engineering excellence and people first leadership. So that's a mouthful, wealth of just great things, great stuff. What can you tell me is some of your favorites, some of your best highlights there?
It sounds good when you say it, Ryan. Definitely sounds good. I think some of the highlights I would say is really building teams. That's the key thing. Psychological safety is also great. I like to build environments where people feel safe and happy and engaged. Of course, we're going to so it's making use of the tools, technology that can boost productivity, but also in a stable and sustainable way. So a few good highlights there.
All of that is fantastic, important, and I feel quickly being forgotten, or maybe not as important in the forefront of what I'm seeing out there today. It's like everything is so quick to AI that we're kind of forgetting about the human element
Absolutely.
portions of things, and I think that's incredibly important. So let's transition to some quick icebreakers. So what is one engineering or AI buzzword that you'd happily delete from the industry? You hear it and you're like,
You know what? I had this one in mind, and at first I was like, oh, I would delete it. I think the buzzword in AI was vibe coding. I was kind of thinking about vibe coding. I'm thinking about for example, going into a flight and saying, hey, this is the vibe pilot, we're doing some vibe flying, or, going to the hospital and doing, a vibe surgery. I think there is some engineers, that they're doing really good work. So I think it's also important to know there's more behind engineering than just simple vibe coding. It has its place. So I'm gradually growing into it. It has its place, but we do have some really quality, and engineering itself is a science, and it's a respected science. There's a lot that goes on behind engineering and developing and writing it. It's so much more than just simply getting someone to just put some code together and getting an outcome. So yeah, it's I'm growing with it. It's growing on me. There is a space for it. I won't say anything about that. There is definitely a space for it, but I'm learning to accept vibe coding and that word.
yeah, I know entirely what you're talking about, because it's like AI is there's people that I know that had no real technical background, and all of a sudden they're making websites or they're making little apps, and AI is really great for things like that. And if you are an engineer, man, you can use it as a tool to really enhance your game. But we've
Absolutely.
quickly, as like a society, not even just tech, just quickly have now like forgotten about all the individuals who were doing this with no AI
Yeah.
and just knowledge, and it's like glossed over.
Yeah. We still need that person to make sure that it's sustainable, it's maintainable, scalable. All those things, that person in the middle is also very important with the
Absolutely.
experience. Yeah.
So an invite that you would politely decline every time, like you see an invite and you're like, oh, this.
You know what? I think I would say, an invite, possibly maybe without an agenda. Yeah, it's always important to know what you get into. If you get an email or invite to a meeting, what is this meeting about? Am I needed? Is it important? Do I need to be there? So yeah, I think that is mine. That would be the one that I would probably decline a bit more.
Yeah, that's great. Great for everybody that might be listening. It's like just a little bit of heads up. Maybe you don't actually need me. You need Todd, whoever to come to this one to help you out and take use
Absolutely.
of all of our time for whatever the best use is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, one moment or lesson from your time in Jamaica or over in the UK that helped shape who you are as a leader today.
Yeah, good question. I think I was trying to filter it into one, but I have a few lessons I've learned. And I think the lessons I've learned growing up, originally from Jamaica, I'm Jamaican, moved across the UK. But, lessons in my childhood growing up in Jamaica, I would say I had an amazing mom that taught me a few lessons. She had been someone who started from maybe humble backgrounds, built herself up into becoming, financial controller. So from being a secretary to a financial controller. So she really stepped up in terms of her career progression. And one of the things that I've always seen and lessons I've learned is just the importance of building, working hard. And she always mentioned that, if you're doing something good, do it well. Try and do it well. So that is one of the lessons I've learned. Also learned, again, I've seen my father also coming from a humble background, building himself to become a medical doctor. And one of the things that I got from that is he always instilled, and the lessons he gave me was, focus on building education, learning, always learning, growing. Education is key. So those are key lessons for me, as well as on this is possibly out of diversity. And, as a Jamaican, we stand on the shoulders of the likes of Bob Marley as well. And one of the things Bob Marley always talked about is one love. So it's really about unity. I was part of the Unity in Culture Affinity group at the Irish group. I was co-chairing that group. And it's really about unity and just having that unified, everybody has that space, on the same space on the table as well. So our motto also says, out of many, one people. So, that speaks to the importance of having that unity. Out of many, there one people. So just building on that. A few others, I would say, as I said, I had a few. I didn't just have one. So
Love it.
there are a lot of lessons. I think you probably may have known that we went through last year in Jamaica a serious, really, really, really devastating hurricane that wiped out part of the western part of the country. And there was a woman, I remember seeing a woman on, I think, an interview mention that the only thing she had left was the clothes on her back. And she said, wherever there is, even though that's the only thing she had left, she said, where there is life, there is hope. And that really hit me. Wherever there's life, there is hope. So no matter what, I'm still living the always hope. There's always hope to do, always hope to grow, always hope to build. So these are a few of the lessons I've learned along the way. And I take with me as I move forward. I took that from, Jamaica, brought it to the UK as well.
I don't know that I could top those lessons. Like those are such great lessons, such amazing lessons.
Yeah.
And, somebody that has nothing left, it kind of really puts it in perspective that, hey, I'm still standing and breathing. I still got hope that I can get to wherever we end up. I'm still here. So
Yeah, absolutely. It does.
it makes me already think right now, replay my own thoughts.
Yeah. So it's resilience. Resilience. These are things. Resilience. Unity, continuous learning, growth, development, working hard, and also the last one I'll give you is, and my mom always said, manners will carry everywhere. So it's having respect and good manners.
I think there's a reason why, like, even though I didn't particularly work in the area much, in your area at Iris, once I ran into you, I'm like, oh, wow, I try to do a lot of these things without knowing anything about him. It's like, well, no wonder, like, we can talk and everything works out because I'm
Yeah.
always learning. I'm always trying to network with people, always remembering that, people want to show up and do good work. And, at worst case, they're just having a bad day or whatever. So don't judge them immediately, judge them over a period of time. And, hopefully we're doing stuff for one another. And also understand we're
Absolutely.
not everybody's cup of tea. I get that I can't win everybody over, but I'm
Yeah,
still going to treat you nicely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, love that. Glad that we're doing this. So moving on from lessons learned, let's go into some engineering journey and some of your early foundations. So some of my early notes here: you studied computer sciences at a University of the West Indies, also business information technology at Middlesex University. So what was that like between the two and the journey to get through?
Good question. So I did at the University of West, it was in Jamaica. I did my what's called a computer studies degree. What that was, it's a mix of computer science as well as it was an option, a computer science option. So I had a mix of computer science as the major, as well as doing a bit of minor in management, in as well as an option to do a lot of math courses as well. So yeah, I think interestingly, I would say that uh, I probably wasn't the what you call that student that that proper student growing up in high school, and I had my challenges and so on. But the one thing I would say is that for some reason I could do math. I could always do math, and that was really the opportunity for me to go into computer science. Did math at university as well up to third year, which was crazy because third year math is just absolutely nuts. So having the opportunity to do that, I think it was great. It was a challenge. It was challenge because it was the first time I was actually going into programming, learning how to program, and that itself initially was a challenge for me. But I doubted myself. I was like, can I really do this? Didn't get it, didn't hack it the first time, but then stuck with it and actually grew stronger and actually enjoyed coding, enjoyed programming. My first language was I learned on object-oriented programming using C++. So that was my first introduction into it. And then enjoyed it, started to liking it, started to enjoy it, loving it. And also even my third year, I got introduced into AI way back in, late 90s, early 2000s. So it's really getting coding using Prolog and stuff like that, learning about Alan Turing and all that stuff. So it's quite interesting stuff. And then journey from there went on to, after I did that, I worked for about a year as a junior programmer, working on, doing Oracle forms and development, building software solutions for insurance. And then I did that for about a year, came over to UK, did a master's degree in business information technology. So it's looking on the business side. I've always been interested in the business side of tech as well. So, introduced me to, of course, doing more into software engineering and just looking on how technology can be used to bring efficiencies, to boost productivity, to enhance and optimize and build operational efficiency and all that stuff. So it was interesting, learning that as well. So yeah, so that's my journey on I guess on the academic side of things.
I mean, spoken like an actual technical business leader, right? Like, as somebody who also has some, business, degrees under their belt now, I'm probably honestly more interested in the business side and see technical as like, how can I use that now as a tool to,
Yeah,
to help the business. I get it. It's interesting. There's a whole
absolutely.
new world of things to explore, involving tech at that point. So
Absolutely.
you kind of mentioned, a little bit of your early career. So some of the notes I have from your early career as an SQL developer, there's some core logic, migrations, ETL, data integrity, deep technical rigor. What kind of lessons did you learn early, and especially starting with SQL that kind of helped shape your path forward?
Wow. What did I learn? I think what I learned early in my early career is to learn quickly. I was literally thrown into the deep end. So when I started with Core Logic, as I said, I had about a bit of experience as an Oracle Forms developer. So my background was in Oracle writing SQL, that sort of thing. So I joined there as a SQL developer. It was at that point, they were like, I would say maybe scale up phase. So they're quickly scaling up, one of the highest scaling up companies at the time, building solutions for local authorities, social care, that kind of thing. But they were moving from a desktop solution to this is when, the web was kind of picking up, and so we decided to move from desktop to web-based solutions. So we had a brand new product coming out. Now with that product, they need a requirement to build all the migration scripts to migrate from customers from the old system to the new system. So that was my deep dive. My deep dive was to be, as a junior developer, to write these scripts, get the specs, write these scripts. I had an Oracle background. One of the challenges at the company also, and a decision that was made, whether good or bad, we don't say, but they had systems, they had customers on both Oracle and a database, Oracle and a SQL Server database. So I came from an Oracle background. So whatever scripts, migration scripts that need to be written, they had to be written in both Oracle and SQL Server. So I had to learn the procedural language for SQL Server as well, which is TSQL, and develop. So develop as well, and the PL SQL, which is SQL Oracle. So I had to develop in both languages at the same time. So whatever I did in Oracle, I had to do it in SQL Server. So it was actually a deep jump for me early stages, but I learned so much in terms of learning quickly. I had to learn a new language very quickly. I had to design the systems. When you work in a sort of startup environment, you're doing literally everything. So I enjoy that. I was really loving it because I was learning so much, enjoying it quite a lot. Had to dig really deep into it. But you know what? I was fast tracked because, I got things done. I was able to build these, the scripts. We had to introduce new finance scripts as well. So it was a really good experience, and that really propelled and fast tracked my journey as well. And being able to deliver that at a junior level, that decision was made to actually fast track my progress, which was quite good.
There's so many lessons in what you just said too.
Yeah,
Especially like we're all going to be afraid to learn something new like
yeah,
that and have to perform
yeah,
like you just said, essentially, and quickly. Like that's all can be a very scary thing. But
yeah,
looking back at perspective, as you're talking about it now, it was one of the best things that probably happened early on, and
absolutely.
you learned very quickly so much, and also got to learn that sometimes decisions just get made.
Yeah,
We run with them.
yeah,
We do what we do.
yeah. And to be quite, I mean, it might not have been the most elegant code, being a junior developer, but I would definitely give, that was one of the most influential managers I've had as well, in my growth, is that, he had the confidence and the belief in his teams, in his developers, and he gave us a space to be creative, to learn, to look at the design. I mean, I was building the designs and so on, but he trusted whoever he had, he trusted us to actually get the job done. And I think that was so important to us. And just speaking in terms of, and I know, we mentioned, in terms of working with SQL and ETL and so on, it's really, the opportunity to, from a SQL perspective and doing is that opportunity to look on systems, look on the data coming through, extracting that data, transforming it, validating, cleaning that data and loading it in, and making sure. So the lessons I learned is the importance of quality, integrity. All of those things are very, very critical when you're doing things like that. So from a very early stage, and I was always focused on quality. And I think the best way to learn more about quality is making sure the data itself is clean, properly clean, transformed and loaded in.
It's so valuable because we've all, I guarantee anybody in technology has seen the opposite of what it looks like when it's not.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and the process to getting it back to that, or good enough, right? Very good lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So moving into your entrepreneurship with eLogic, software services. It says you delivered over 100 plus integrations for the UK local authorities. Interested in that story. What kind of work did you do there, and what kind of integrations or challenges did you run across?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give a bit of background on that, I, as a family, we made a decision to move back. I was in the UK back in 2000 and, oh, when was this? 2006, 2005, 2006. I made a decision to move back to Jamaica. But I had the opportunity to actually work with a number of local authorities through CoreLogic as well, subcontract. So set up my business in Jamaica, and I was building, well, I would say more consulting with local authorities and what it was, again, is also data driven. So it's integrating the case management, it was called Framework I, which is the case management system for children and adult services, and interfacing that with the local authority financial systems, whether it's Oracle Financial, SAP, or whatever. So what they need to do is to integrate, whether it's accounts production, accounts receivables, build integrations or solutions that will actually take the data from their case management systems and import them into their financial systems. So that was the number of projects I've been working on across a number of local authorities across the UK to get that those systems across. I did a lot of fixes as well. Data fixes, fixing bad data. Again, quality. It was always about quality. So it's fixing bad data, writing scripts, that sort of thing to fix their data, whether it's budget imports, all those different things. So it's really getting if they're changing budget codes, it's okay. How can we have a bulk? How can we do this in bulk? How can we, ensure that we are? It's of course not one by one, but it's writing the scripts so that this can be done in bulk. So that was in a sense a lot of the work I was doing. I would say I probably did about 100 interfaces across the 9 years I was doing that for as well. So yeah, quite a lot of projects, quite a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot of integrations, and yeah, I didn't realize that it was almost a decade's worth of time. It's a long time, yeah. And obviously you came back, so we'll probably touch base on that story. But what would you say that building solutions for social care and healthcare taught you about responsibility and empathy?
Yeah, so I would say that the software, well, building these solutions, building this software, I did a lot of, coming back as well, I did a lot of code writing, looking after the reporting side of things as well. So writing a number of statutory and standard reports for local authorities. In terms of what that taught me is the receivers of this, what's important is that it's for software that is for good. It's software that will help, whether it's adult services, whether it's children's services. They're the ones who are benefiting from it. So again, that's what it has taught me, and what is the importance of the integrity of that data. The data has to be quality, because when you're reporting as well, the reports that are coming out of that are coming out is for good. It has to be of good quality, because it's going to give that particular person, which is child protection or children in need, we can understand through those reports who are the persons who need this service best. If it's adult care, who are the adults who are needing these, which areas, who needs it best. Because understand, so what it really taught me is the importance of having accurate data, accurate information, so that the right people can get the right services and the best services.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just hit on a critical point for anybody, again, that doesn't get the whole data quality piece, the
Yeah,
reporting side, and what the decisions are used and based off from can be very impactful.
yeah,
So making sure our job to get all of that right, the first get go, so that whoever is actually interpreting that data can make a critical choice that we're not thinking about in that regard is so important. As soon as you said it, it just started clicking in my head. So I'm like, yeah, that's a very good point that I wouldn't have considered, right? Right, going into this and writing that and going, well, maybe take a second think about it, and try to put that extra work in from the get go.
absolutely.
So shifting from doing and shifting more into leading. So you've led at least 18 plus engineers at Iris across pods, building a cloud accountancy platform on AWS. What was that kind of challenge like, and what kind of lessons from doing and now transitioning to actually leading and being responsible for others in that kind of regard? What did that kind of challenge, and what kind of lessons did you learn in having that challenge be in front of you day after day?
Yeah, good question. So I think for me, it was realizing that you're transitioning from managing code to managing people. So that's the shift. And it is a whole different skill set. So you have to learn different skill set, different, I guess I would say challenge is with managing people. It's, the things like, managing conflicts is just, you will have, conflicts in different, which is not necessarily bad in terms of different thoughts, different ideas. People come with, um, their ideas and may not necessarily gel with somebody else. So it's how do you understand? How do you manage those areas? So I think for me, I realized quickly that this is a whole different this is a whole different skill set that I do have to learn. Just to rewind a bit, I was leading at the Access Group as well. So that's where I really built up my experience getting into management. And the first thing before I actually started is to learn what does it really take to be a good manager. I just didn't want to be an accidental manager. I wanted to say, okay, what do I need to do to make sure I'm serving my team well? So that's where it's important. The training is important. Learning, education on how to do that. Learning how to be empathetic, learning how to build a space for psychological safety, learning how to manage conflicts, learning how to delegate, learning how to change management, learning how to, understand how to make changes, how to make the team aware of the changes and to accept those changes as well. Trying to step back from being too involved in the code sometimes and learning learning that, listen, I'm a bottleneck. So, so learning how to manage code, but, realize that, I need to step back, allow the team to give them the space to work. So yeah. So those are some of the lessons as well as the challenges that comes with doing the job.
Yeah, I think you just hit such a critical point that I don't see always. The leaders that I see not hitting this point are the ones that normally are struggling, and that was the step back point and realizing that you're the bottleneck and
Yeah,
that you need to trust, right? You have a team for a reason. You give the advice, you give the expertise, but then you have to watch from over here on this side of the
yeah,
glass and let them
yeah,
do their thing.
absolutely.
And I missed this point leading into the podcast, but I think it's a great point to go ahead and put into here. I think that you did all right in that challenge, being that you're award winner at your time at Iris for managing. One of the last things that I believe I saw was a post from Iris about you getting an award, and we won't touch on the after that, but you did win an award because of your management and because of your team's output, the results. So I'd have to say maybe you learned how to do a few things or two, but from that.
I would definitely say that, we both went to, through the training as well, at Harris, with leadership training. And I learned so much. I mean, hats off to Natasha, Naomi, and Co, that really brought us through that training. It's important. I think it's important to learn how to be good managers, and they did a really good job at that, and that really helped me to really serve the teams better.
Yeah, I mean, I'll spend a real quick point on that, and we'll move to the next. But I went into that thinking I've worked around all the sorts of places. I've seen all kinds of trainings. I've got Harvard, leadership things hanging on my wall. I have a master's in management and leadership. I was like, what was I going to learn? But I went into it still open, but I went into it like, what am I really going to learn? And now coming out of that, I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
absolutely.
happy to be surprised.
Yeah,
It was great. They did, especially in a tough environment where you have to do it remotely.
yeah,
We didn't get a chance to do it in person until the end. And then I I don't actually think I know the answer to this, but I don't know if that they've done it since that. It's like I wish that we could be poster children for like this is what a leadership program could do, and now look at
Yeah,
relationships. We don't even all work there anymore, and we'll talk.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no, no, absolutely. So, it was good. Given an example, there was a case where I think I was in the conflict resolution training, and literally like right after I got an email with a conflict. So I was like, okay, great. I had the training. So I was like, okay, let me apply this now. So yeah, the challenges they come. So, I was able to practically use what I've learned as well.
Funny how timing works out sometimes. uh, So driving engineering excellence, with microservices, observability, secure SDLC, and elite DORA metrics. What can you tell me about your perspective on executing and getting everything up to those standards?
Yeah. So, driving excellence. So one of the things that I was involved in also, I used to go to the Dora. They do have these sort of I wouldn't say meetup, like coffee. I can't remember what it's called, coffee something on a Thursday. So learning about Dora, learning about the different metrics, learning about the capabilities, and in having the right capabilities for the right outcomes as well. So and having that data driven approach to development. So for me, driving excellence with microservices, Dora metrics, what I've learned is really to make sure that you have the right services, and it's the more domain driven way of working on a cloud native platform as well. It's really having the capabilities and putting the capabilities in place to ensure that delivery is fast. The CI/CD pipelines, the automation scripts, the making sure that we automate as much as we can to make that pipeline as smooth as possible. Looking on Dora, looking on frequency, how quickly we're deploying, how frequently we can deploy, making sure we're performing at, we have the capability to perform as fast as possible. So we have fast throughput, as well as we also have to make sure that we are stable. So the stability and the output is important, as well as the reliability. So we want to make sure the pipeline is smooth, but also ensuring that once it's delivered, once it's out in the wild, it's reliable, it's usable, the customers can actually use it. So I've learned, throughout, as I said, making sure we have continuous improvement, continuous delivery, automation, and all of these capabilities lead to good outcomes, which leads to, operational efficiency, organizational efficiencies. Also, the important thing is that when we have these capabilities in place, we can make sure that another outcome of that is, less rework. And the great thing about the less rework, it means that we have less burnout. So we have happier developers. We have smooth pipelines. AI is also a big thing in terms of building efficiencies into these things, but also making sure that these efficiencies and security is also important. We have to make sure within the pipelines, the builds, etc., we are having secure code, we have in maintainable code. So, that's built into our pipelines as well. So it's having secure, clear, stable, reliable, not only delivering, but with delivering with security, delivering it with stability in mind, maintainability in mind, efficiencies in mind, boosting productivity, throughput, all of these things. But at the end of the day, reducing burnout, increasing productivity, all of that in place.
Yeah, it's a great point. I don't know that I hear that a lot when you're kind of in it, you're kind of doing it. I've been in a bunch of SaaS companies where I've very rarely heard that, but it is very true because if you're doing it right the first time, then we can move on to something else and you're not having to do it over and over again. Then at the same time, you're not costing the company more time and money because we're getting it right the first time. So
Yeah,
then our operations cost is down. Maybe we can reward the team or scale the team properly or whatever that might be, invest in more tooling because we're saving that money.
absolutely.
So all valid points.
Absolutely, yeah, and of course, with the right architecture, I think especially Iris, that they're quite stable. The architecture is quite, it's just well architected. Microservices, ensuring that we're breaking down the services and domains properly, having that sort of domain driven mindset, sort of event-driven, scalable, decoupled solutions. It does really make a difference when it comes down to making sure we're building quickly as well, as opposed to like a massive monolithic solution or framework architecture.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that planning part is
Yeah,
pretty important.
absolutely.
So what would you say your thoughts are around creating a high trust environment where engineers feel safe to experiment, fail, and grow?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's always, I try to encourage that. I try to encourage an environment where, you know, anyone, no matter what level you are, whether you're a senior, whether you're a junior, you have a seat at the table. You have ideas, you can share ideas. Having that space to be creative is important, so they can be creative. Bring a proof of concept, bring an idea, think about it, bring it to the team, have a discussion around it, have constructive discussions around it. Building, and I think psychological safety is important because we have these constructive decisions around these things that it's in a safe environment, a safe space, and there's no sort of pointing fingers or anything. It's really about, okay, let's see, how can we make this work. So I think it's important to have that space. Important to have space as much as we have, features. We have features. We have a lot of work to do, but it's always important to have some space available for learning, especially now. There's so much with AI, so much to learn, but you can get caught up with just doing the day to day that you're not growing. So for me, it's important that, for the business as well as for the individuals, to have a space, have some time set aside to continue to learn, continue to build as well. So I think that's also very, very important. So yeah, that's what I would say in terms of building those spaces and environments for people to grow and develop and just enjoy what they're doing.
I think that the best leaders understand that you learn the most when you fail, and
Oh yeah,
encouraging experimentation to learn and then learning from those failures, as long as you're not repeating the same failure,
absolutely.
you are learning. And as long as you're creating an environment where that's okay, and as a leader, we have to figure out the times and places where we can, risk that they might fail here versus a
Yeah,
strict timeline where maybe we can't risk that. And you got to balance that, but understanding all of that is super critical. And then you just watching their reactions when, like, you're not getting scolded because you failed. It's like, okay, what can we learn from that? What can we, figure out where it went wrong, or what we could have tried to do, or were you set up for success from the get-go, or
yeah,
whatever it is. And then watching them take away and come back, like, it's a totally different psychological approach, that you mentioned for the
absolutely.
employee to come back. And now they're going to get more creative. They're going to want to go. They're not going to be held back because they're not going to be afraid, to go out there and try. So
Absolutely.
such an important point.
In DevOps, they talk about, having that generative culture. No, there's no blame game. If things go wrong, you're not pointing fingers. It's like, okay, this happened. How can we learn from it? How can we improve from this? It's all about continuous improvements. And you know what? If you think about every single invention out there has to be tons of failure before they got it right.
The
So yeah,
continuous improvement part, right? Like,
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
the versioning for a reason. The version one was a
Exactly.
concept. It didn't
Yeah.
work though.
Yeah, yeah. I always think about failing fast, failing early, failing quickly. That's
Yeah,
the key
that's an
thing.
important point. Very important point.
Yeah.
So how would you say that mentorship and inclusion leadership as a pillar is important for psychological safety, career coaching, and, global collaboration for the employees that you're managing, or across teams, or, in your vicinity that you're interacting with?
I think it's important, very important. Leaders should be really equipped to mentor their teams, to guide them, get them, to ask the open questions. It's very important to mentor them in development, whether it's career, whether it's their skill sets and so on, is providing that space to ensure that we're mentoring them, that they're growing, they're developing, and they're looking at, okay, where they want to see themselves and how we can get you to where you want to go. And that's one thing that's extremely important. I've also been lucky to mentor as part of the high performance mentoring program as well. So I was lucky enough to mentor different individuals. We're so from the US, from the UK, from India, across. So I was really fortunate enough as well to be able to mentor a number of people. I think it's very important for you to provide that support, that service to each individual. And also in terms of inclusivity, it's important to ensure that no matter who is at everyone has an equal space at the table, an equal position at equal, they're included. They're, whether different groups, different underrepresented groups are included, different age groups or whatever it is. It's important that everyone has that seat. So in me, person of color, it's important for me. So it's also important that I ensure that everybody, no matter who they are, has that space and feels welcome to be at the table. Their ideas, their thoughts, they also matter. Everybody's ideas do matter. So that's absolutely critical.
It matters.
Every voice matters. Yeah.
Top to bottom, left to right, however you want to say the perspectives.
Yeah.
It does. And once you start to think that way,
Absolutely.
it truly helps. And you
Yeah.
get ideas maybe you didn't think you'd get too, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, I was co-chair in the Unity and Culture group, and we always tried, and one of the things that we always tried to look at is, and that is just one of many affinity groups, and it was really trying to look at how we can make sure that everybody has that space on the table, everybody's included, there is equality, looking at the gaps. How can we fill certain gaps? Why are there gaps? Stuff like that. So it was also very, very critical that, and the thing about it too is we are better equipped, and, most companies who are embracing diversity and inclusion are even more productive. They can see things from a 360 degree. They're covering the blind spots. Wherever there are certain blind spots, because there is not a sort of a homogeneous way of thinking. There's a diverse way of thinking. Sometimes when you have the blinkers on, you say, "Oh, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize impact here." So it's really having that diversity boosts better decision making. It boosts productivity. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win for everybody.
That is entirely why I've liked my last two stops in working for like global companies, because then you get all kinds of different perspectives or things that you didn't know and learn. And somebody might say something a certain way, and then they teach you like this is what it means in the culture, and like all of that just has made me a better person, more well-rounded, and be able to then spread that to others that don't have that opportunity or haven't followed a path like me yet, and hopefully put better out in the world, right? That's the idea.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one of the things that was quite lucky is that I was able to work with people from Romania, from India, from the US, from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures. It just, I think for me personally, it made me a better manager as well, and a better person. So yeah, it's always awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly fascinating to all be working on the same particular project or topic, and then like figuring out we're all across the world in different time zones and different homes and different whatever. Like it's
Yeah,
we're coming together. Like that's the important part.
yeah.
So on that vein, how would you say that you balance, delivery pressure and well-being? So you got a lot of pressure to deliver something. Well, you got to keep the well-being at the same time. That's a teeter-totter, as I would say, maybe. But how would you try your best to deliver, but also keep the peace?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And for me, I remember like being, just starting off in being a manager, and I used to work loads of hours. And, I think I got to a point, I can't remember how many hours I was working one particular week, and I felt like I was on the verge of just going crazy. So I was like, no, I need to stop, look after myself. So, I've learned learned how to manage my time a bit better and to look after myself. I think there was a course also when we're doing at Iris around sharpening the saw, sharpen the saw. Yeah, I can't remember sharpen the saw. It's really just about looking after yourself, finding that time to look after yourself. So I think for me, for me personally, I try to like break up my day. I'll probably go for a jog or go to the gym, um, you know, sometime within the time just to get away. I think for me, when I go for a jog, sometimes I'll be jogging and ideas come to me while I'm jogging. Like, okay, it just need to step away. Need to be able to know when to shut down, know when to shut off. That's something I used to encourage quite a lot in my teams as well. I said, listen, look after yourself first. It's important that you look after you. And yeah, we do have the delivery, the stresses of delivery, which is fine. But, we do have to make sure that, you are looking after yourself, spending that time, taking your breaks, resetting, not working ridiculous hours. That's not definitely not something that, I would encourage you to be up until 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time in the morning, getting things done, because you're going to burn yourself out and it's no good for you. It's no good for anyone if the teams are being burnt out, it's your health, your wealth is important. So take that first, believe in that, as well as the fact that if you are tired, burnout, it's not good for the code either. You're gonna make mistakes. So I've been there. Writing code. I'm like, what am I writing? I'm tired. Yeah. You do have to. I think it's very important. That we try not to burn anyone out. No one from the team should be feeling overwhelmed. So it's really trying to manage that. But yeah, it is difficult because we do have, especially if you're in an environment where you have statutory changes that need to be made, that, they're like hard stop deadlines that we need to get things delivered. We just have to look on it. We have to say, okay, what the capacity we have? Do we have the right capacity? Do we need more resources? In some instances, can we shift deadlines? I don't know if it's overwhelming, if we don't have the capacity, but we do have to see how to juggle it. But at the end of the day, we should not be looking at trying to, we have to make that balance in terms of, making sure people's well-beings are maintained as well as we are delivering.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things that you just said that I see classic leaders, first-time leaders, or leaders that maybe didn't have a good mentorship or learn from somebody because they believe that just pouring hours into something is the way.
Mm, mm,
As much, and then then your teams see that behavior, and it
yeah,
just sets a psychological
yeah,
domino effect, really, where the one thing that I will die on this hill, and anybody who's worked for me understands that you might have done a overnight emergency fix, or we had to do a planned release and we didn't have a lot of wiggle room, as you kind of were describing, going into
yeah,
maybe having to launch that. But they all knew that after that, I had created something where I'm like, cool, Bob, I'll see you Tuesday. Like, what do you mean? You're not working Monday. Like, you're gonna go take some time, take your
absolutely.
wife out for a lunch or
Yeah,
whatever it is that you want to do.
absolutely.
Because in a lot of companies, I think, especially right now in the day of AI and all the technology, we're forgetting the human element. And you said it earlier with like, what am I writing? What code am I doing? 100%. Taking some time and getting writing coming back, you're gonna have such a better quality product than grinding out hour 70 of this week. Is
Absolutely.
it's not gonna be the same as hour 5 after a refreshed
Absolutely.
mind.
Absolutely. It's so true.
So now getting into, one of the topics of the highlights of the entire podcast, AI. So for an AI first delivery that enables productivity, maybe you're using Copilot, maybe you're using Cursor, it's kind of showing that it's really the future of engineering at the moment. How have you embedded some, AI first practices into engineering? One of the highlights I have is that you've done some workflows that achieve some productivity gains of maybe 25% or more. What kind of things have you seen with AI? What kind of things have you done within the engineering space with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying to think back. It might have been 23 or so on. We had especially Iris, we had a drive to start using, a lot of the tools. We started with Copilot, but there was an encouragement to ensure that teams are using, AI tools to help boost productivity as well. So yeah, I had encouraged the three teams I was looking after at the time to start using the tools a bit more. This was like the early stages, so it was more like sort of autocomplete and stuff like that. They're using it, and I would say initially the early stages, it was like, I'm sure if this is really helping me too much. It was hallucinating a whole lot more, and it didn't understand the context, especially for complex domains and so on. Just didn't understand the context, and it was like, okay, initially when I was getting the feedback from my team, it's like we kind of shelved it a bit. Then fast forward just a bit, we had the co-cursor pilot we're doing and across. So I encouraged again my three teams, hey, let's get on board. Let's get on board with this trial of Copilot. And this was sort of like maybe a year afterwards, a lot more mature. AI, this is when the agentic side of things came about now. So it's using AI tools to generate code. And we did that trial version. We looked on things like, how can we use it for like, building unit tests? How can we build it for documentation, code generation, reviewing different things? And we saw significant gains coming out of it, which was great. We started implementing, the teams actually started using Cursor, Copilot a bit more. We actually saw the value of coming out of it in terms of, the smaller things as well. I'm not saying it was 100%, there was still a lot of hallucinations. There was oftentimes when it still didn't understand, the domains and especially more complex code and giving us the right decisions. But also what I did was just a sort of survey. How is it used? It was kind of similar to what Dora came up with their sort of, state of the art reports and looking on how AI usage, and a few things came out. Yeah, it was being embraced a bit more, seen some gains, that thing, but it was still not trusted. Developers still didn't trust it that much, was still hallucinating a bit. So it's kind of looked at that. I did a similar thing with it within the team, within the company as well, looking on how AI usage, how they're using AI, seeing a sort of similar theme. Still, yeah, starting to embrace it more, just didn't really trust it as much. But, I think as it grows and matures and used, the key thing is to ensure that it is a tool, that is an extra tool in a toolkit. Know when to use it, when not to use it, kind of thing. It's one of many tools. It's just like thinking like, even like you go to the barber, the barber uses a shear for the heavy lifting and uses the scissors for trimming for manual things. So it's using it as an extra tool. It does boost, evidence of it boosting the productivity. But I would just caveat that to say that, it will probably speed things up a bit, but the onus right now is on developers, engineers to be able to properly review what's coming out. So it's almost like a shift in the mindset of engineers to say, hey, let me just not accept this and push it through. But, it's so important to say, okay, is it doing the right thing? Are we looking on the security? Are we looking on the stability? Is it looking at the design principles? Is it following those principles? So it's still important for engineers to be in the middle, to be able to make sure it's doing the right thing, because what's coming out also, I mean, we talk about AI slop and all that stuff and spitting out like, yeah, it's been fast, but then it's out in the wild and it's all sorts of problems with bugs and all that kind of thing. So I think the role of the engineer becomes that much more important, that, we're making sure that we have the right governance, the right gates to make sure, and the right platform, because, with AI, it 10X everything, whether good or bad. If the platforms aren't great, it's gonna show it. So if you don't have the automation in place, to make sure we're capturing these regressions and so on that could potentially come out of it, then you might have problems. So it's important that we are monitoring the outcomes properly. We might be going faster, but we also want to make sure that we maintain the stability, we maintain the reliability, we're maintaining all of those different things as well. So it's getting that mindset to work as a tool, working alongside, maybe like a co-worker. Because I've been working on even personal projects using Cursor as well, and I'm having conversations and so on back and forth, and some things I don't get. I'm actually going through the code. I'm actually, stepping through the actual code base to say, oh, this is why it's happening. So I'm literally having a conversation. So I'm doing my bit. It's doing its bit as well. You know, it's it is a tool that can be used for good, but we just have to make sure that we're responsible, and engineers have to be responsible when using these tools.
And I think that's a great point that you're highlighting, how AI doesn't necessarily replace engineers or engineering as a whole, but it can amplify it if used in the right way. And
Yeah.
that term that you just said, as a tool, it gets forgotten, I think, still, that it very much, it's a great tool, especially if you already know like what you need to look for, how to use it. Like you just used an example in your personal project of like, it's not working, why? And then you went and looked and found, and you're like, well, this is why. And you fixed it, and now it'll probably enhance and provide some more productivity to you. But if you didn't know how to do that, then it's
Yeah.
just produced not great results, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and and I think that's forgotten. How would you say that the AI would change the role of the actual engineering manager? Like now you're not just managing people, now you're managing this really crazy tool set that can do a lot of great things, but can also do a lot of harm, a lot of bad things at the same time. How would you say that has changed the actual engineering, management, having to juggle that on top of the people, on top of the deadlines and et cetera now?
Yeah, yeah, good question. I think it is, again, it's another shift because you're not only managing people, you're managing these agents, and I think ultimately from a manager's perspective is you want to ensure that you're, as I probably said it a few times, is that we want to make sure that the outcome is quality. It's delivered. There's gonna be greater expectations and outcomes. With AI, it's, oh yeah, need to, now that we have this, we should be expecting things faster. So it's managing expectation, I think, is also, with stakeholders is also important. We also, I think that the key thing also is just to ensure that the team individuals are working alongside AI. It's almost like another employee or something. It's you're working alongside. So it's encouraging the use of the tools. Yeah, absolutely. Making sure with 10x and everything, boosting productivity, everything. But, there still is that human element as well. So, how do you manage that human element? There are concerns of, oh, is this going to replace me? So that is a natural concern as well. Is AI going to replace my job kind of thing? No, we still need engineers. We still need engineers. They always say, what's going to replace you is an engineer who uses AI. You know what I mean? For me, the key thing is ensuring that the teams are getting the right training to understand how to best get the best out of these tools. How to write better prompts, that sort of thing. To get the best results. They are always gonna be needed in the middle to make sure that, as I said before, they're reviewing, making sure their job is probably even more important to make sure that AI, you're supervised to make sure it's doing the right thing. The security, the quality. It even means when you're actually writing code, you're not sort of putting in a prompt and you're getting a big bulk of code that you have to put, and review. You do it in bite size, do it in chunks. The one thing about DevOps is always, you do things in chunks. So is, making sure that, you're viewing things at, a smaller pace, smaller chunks of work. So that has to be maintained. But yeah, I think it's definitely changing the mindset of the engineering managers. Also, as I said, manage expectations. We don't want to burn out people as well. So we don't want to expect them to be, oh yeah, now we have this tool. You can get what we're supposed to be doing that was going to take we're going to reduce that to like 50% now that we have this, and then putting pressure on individuals. It's probably not quite like that. We're not getting those gains. So we have to learn how to shape the narrative and make sure it's making sense. We're not getting over our heads, thinking that yes, now that we have these tools, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are really shooting up. We have to make sure that we have the platform is stable enough and the capabilities to really, and that's another thing, making sure we have the right capabilities in place, the right structures, the right pipelines, all of these in place. There are no bottlenecks. You're not like sort of on the development life cycle. You're looking and saying, okay, yeah, we're using AI for development, but what about, using it for testing? So it's looking at the pipelines as well, making sure the pipelines, it's run throughout as well. And governance, I think governance, and another thing, key thing also is, governance, making sure we have the right frameworks, the right governance in place. But another key thing is that we are looking on, and this is another human element of it, we are looking on things like ethics and bias, things like the environment. Those are also important, and cost and price. No,
Number one thing, right? Cost and price. But I mean, you are right about, the bias. Like I see articles all the time on that, and it's not great. And we,
yeah,
still got work to do there in order to kind of hopefully get to one day where it's eliminated. But you hit one good grid point that I keep going back to in my head, which is you're almost managing AI as an employee, and that's a incredibly so. We're talking about leadership throughout the podcast so far. We're talking about the mental shift from doer to now leader and how to do that. Now you're adding a third element onto that. So we already maybe don't have all the programs to get from doer to management sometimes. Like I can tell you, there's been a lot of jobs where I've never been handed a management book. So you have that. And now on top of that, now you have the AI piece. It's such a fascinating perspective to look at and how to juggle all of that and continue with the human and the technical point of
yeah,
view. It's an
yeah,
interesting point.
yeah. And to be honest, I mean, I'll be quite honest. I think the shape of the structure of teams are going to change and have been changing. Is going to be, I think, as it matures, I think coding is going to be, coding is quite cheap now, so it's going to be a lot less, if not no coding at all. It's really using the agents and so on. So I think there's going to be a shift in the actual structure of teams. You're probably not going to have as many engineers moving forward as well. What does that mean? Don't know in terms of, but it's I think in the next few years, that's probably going to be how it's going to be shaping. I would say is what's important is to embrace the creative side. So it's really getting individuals to say, okay, how do I align more with the product itself, understanding the product, understanding the systems. You're an engineer, you're not a coder. I was tell my teams that, you are not coders, you're software engineers, you're problem solvers. How do you look on solving problems, looking on the system itself and not just on the individual features that you're building? So it's really a shift in mindset of engineers as well, to align more with the product, align more with the system, align more with the design, as opposed to just being a programmer. So, but yeah, so I think that's also extremely critical as an engineering manager to share with the team.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't refute any of that. I mean, that was all critical points. It all makes sense. Whether or not I see it out there in the wild day to day in
Yeah,
that way yet, I really hope that we get there, and that's a consistent approach that we see, um, and we utilize it as a huge technology leap, as we've seen throughout the history of technology.
yeah. I'll say discover, embrace it. It's exciting times, to be honest. Embrace it. Be creative. Take advantage of these tools. The opportunities that come out of them. It's amazing. It's early stages, and there's so much opportunities to actually come out. So just embrace. Find that creative side. Look at that project that you probably looked and say, now I can do this.
Been the number one thing that I have found happiness in AI. Yeah, it's great that we're saving money and possibly saving money and doing all these other crazy things, but the number one thing that I've seen is just the creativeness of all individuals touching it. I go back to one of the skills that I wish I could have been or done or whatever growing up was drawing. I could never draw. But now with AI, I feel like in a way I'm almost drawing. Like I can
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
a lot of things that I probably couldn't have done before.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So shifting a little bit from AI and going into some more boundary setting and leadership, and knowing how to maybe say no with intention, or knowing like saying no is what's best for that moment. What would you say that the importance of setting boundaries when leading, a rapidly scaling engineering team would be the most beneficial, or why saying no in some moments would be the right thing to say for a team that's rapidly scaling, depending on whatever that project or ask is?
Yeah, I think it's important to say no, especially when you're rapidly scaling. Is this important? Is this urgent? If something is, I guess, urgent but not important, is probably something to say no to. And because, if you're rapidly scaling, you have to be sort of laser focused on what you're doing, and making sure that you are focused on that. You have to put that, you sort of ring fence and put the boundaries around that. Know what those boundaries are, is important. I think, if you're setting those boundaries of, okay, yeah, you're rapidly scaling, you want to know, okay, you're building up a team, you're building up, bringing in new, in this case, maybe engineers, scaling up new teams enough to know exactly what you're looking for, what the requirements, what the team looks like, what the shape of the teams are going to be, understanding who is doing what, how are we going to bring this in, how are we going to recruit, what values, those are important. So, you kind of set those boundaries, minding expectations. We have to really think about the onboarding process, how we're going to onboard, who's going to onboard, who's going to do what, that kind of thing. So you have that framework, you have those boundaries, and we have to make sure that's ring fence. And anything that may come out that might be a distraction to that, we might have to say no, because we have to be focused on what we're doing and getting and building. If it's important that something comes in, then fine. But if we just have to make sure that we know, or what the framework looks like, what the shape looks like, and what we're trying to achieve, and focus on that. Especially, I know when we're scaling up our, the center of excellence in Romania, we had a limited time scales to get that done. So, in a situation like that, there has to be a lot of maybe no's, you know,
Right.
we can't have things creeping that might derail us from what our objectives are. So, we have to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, and you hit a critical point that I see a lot. We'll just say. So you mentioned what's the onboarding process look like, and there's countless times where I've seen the question, "Well, what if we just added more people? Wouldn't that speed it up?" How many times have we seen that question or been asked
Absolutely.
that? And if you have like the process to like the point you just detailed, and you show that and go, well, to speed them up is really going to slow down, honestly, to then possibly speed up. You have to
Mm,
measure it from that particular game. And
absolutely.
will it really speed it up, or will it not?
Yeah. No, no, you're absolutely right. That's so critical, because and probably that's not a no point, because if you bring in new teams and you have the existing teams, it could actually slow it, and it has in instances slow things down, or you will go through a process of slowing down, because you have to do things like knowledge transfer, and that's coming from the other team. So you may have to bring in other team members to say, okay, can you train this person up? So they're taking them from their work to help to maybe hold, these new teams, hold their hands to get them through this. So it's gonna pull. So there will be that time when things actually do slow down. So it's not gonna say, oh, it's gonna, get more teams double productivity. It never ever happens. And then there is, working in the same domains, and you have people stepping on each other's toes, kind of things. That in itself has to be managed. So it's like that whole onboarding process. What does a team look like? How are we going to knowledge transfer, share knowledge across teams? How are we going to bring them up to understand, to learn the domain? How are we going to get resources to come in to help them, get to where they need to get to? Do we need to sort of bring them into existing teams until they can be on their own, kind of thing? There are a lot of questions that, how it's structured, how we're going to onboard, is important as well.
Yeah, 100%. All of that is what I would champion for sure. And hopefully, you could relay to a leadership situation about just
Yeah.
adding more resources.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't always work. There's going to be a time when it slows those things down.
So that's a good segue into my next point, which is how would you say that transparent communication transforms a possible no into alignment and clarity? A good point was, adding people there, isn't actually going to speed it up. And this is why, and being transparent with that process and why it's not means that we're not doing a bad thing. We're actually going to do a positive thing in this regard. So is there any kind of other points that you see along the way where saying no and explaining why is actually the preferred route in the good way?
Yeah, one of the things when I was at Access Group, one of the values is open and honesty, and open, honest discussions as part of their values. It's important to be open and honest, and as you said, it's important to if you say no, but why are you saying no, and just being real open and honest and having those conversations. As for example, in that case, you know, if you say, okay, you're not going to bring in, if you have more engineers in, it might slow things down. It's having those conversations, being open about what the situation is, what the risks are, why you say no. Because the key thing also in an example is if for example you might have a deadline and you look on the capacity that you do have, can we get this done within that time? You might say no. Why? We don't have the capacity to do so. It's either explain to the situation. Either we say there are options, but with the existing capacity, and having those open conversations. This is the existing capacity. Based on this existing capacity, and the expectations in terms of looking at the backlog, looking at the features that we need to get through. We're probably not going to hit this deadline. So what can we do? So we can have those open conversations now. What can we do? Is this a set deadline? Can we extend this? If not, what can we take out? What are the not so important things that we can take out in this situation? If that is done and it still doesn't hit the deadline, can we get more resources? Maybe whether it's temporary or maybe from another team. Can we pull in some more resources? Well, as again, it's probably not going to give you the speed that we want to get, but sometimes they might get, okay, what this was, maybe someone in another team might have experience with it, so they can hit the ground running in this particular situation. Is that a possibility? So it's really saying no, seeing the risk, mitigating against the risk, saying, okay, how are we going to mitigate this risk of missing our deadline? And then we start working towards that. But, can we get the team or engineers to work double time on more time? Probably not, because you're going to burn them out. So, those are conversations that some are willing to, I don't know, but it is not something to be encouraged. But, it's important to have those open conversations when you're in those environments. You may have to have say no to an ask.
Yeah, I think it's a great point,
Yeah.
and that just saying yes isn't necessarily the answer. And if you're just saying yes every time, you're not actually doing the best quality job. You're not actually doing the right things because
Mm.
is that yes going to lead to that outcome that you're targeting, right? Is that going to get you to that release
Yeah.
date?
Yeah. It might lead to a missed deadline. And you're like, why did that? And you know what I mean? So it's best to be open and honest from the get-go. The earlier the better, so we can start planning and preparing for the outcomes.
Absolutely. Okay. So that takes me into just leading with the inclusion, the mentorship, and global influence. And we've talked a lot about that so far going through our time. And I think it's still just an incredibly important topic that more leaders should, take to heart and should put in their day-to-day life. What would you say that in your time leading so far and what you hope to achieve and the times that you hopefully will lead even more individuals, going forward, that communicating across cultures and why belonging is important and just coaching and mentoring, what would you say that those are the most important points that you want to communicate to anybody going into a situation where they hope to get some kind of mentorship, they hope to be able to include others, they hope to have the best leader possible? What kind of message would you send and what you would want to channel day to day, what you would want to see yourself if you were an individual that was being led, what would you want to see out of that situation that would be the best?
What I want to see best, I think it's having that good mentor mentee relationships where that leads to positive outcomes. You know exactly what you want and where you want to go. It's important to get that mentorship. Encourage anyone to have a mentor, to get a mentor, to guide them, guide them in terms of what direction they want to go. Having those conversations around um, maybe gaps. One of the things I've learned, I've learned it at Iris, I've learned it even before. And so one of the things I always focus on is the grow model. What's your goals? In anything you want to do, whether it's career development, whether it's like coming with a problem. One of the managers in the past always said, don't come to me with problems, come with solutions. So it's like, okay, you might come with a problem. What do you want to achieve? What's success for you? And so once I establish that is okay, where are you now? What's the reality? Or say, can say, these are the barriers, what is reality? And then have the open questions, what are those options? What are the options that you have? Then you kind of go through those options and say, okay, let's go for the win. Let's choose an option and shoot for that. So, it's important to be able to have someone that you can sort of soundboard, how you're feeling, your thoughts, that kind of thing. So I would definitely encourage finding a mentor, having a good mentor that will help you to find the right answers you want. Someone, if he's looking on even your skills, someone who can train you, you can learn from within your area as well is also good to have that mentor, because it's all about your personal development is always key. Building up your personal development is how you want to grow, where you see yourself is important. And also to add to that, you spoke about the inclusivity as well. And that piece also is to, ensure that, as I mentioned before, everyone feels like they have a place. Everyone feels like they can progress. Everyone feels like they can grow their career. They can see opportunities ahead of them, irrespective of who they are, what their background is. Everyone has an equal opportunity to growth, to personal development. So it's really setting that space for that. As I mentioned before, it's already out of many, we have one people. So this out of this particular business, wherever you are, business of diversity, we're all one and in unity as a company going in the same direction. So, everyone should be able to see, I should be able to see people ahead of me that look like me and can aspire to be that. So it's important that representation matters. It matters a lot at every level. From the top coming down, representation matters. And that's one thing that's important for me, is just being able to be, even a person of color, to be able to represent. So others say, someone looks like me, I can aspire to be that. I'll give an example. For example, we know Usain Bolt is a great runner in Jamaica, and the Bolt effect was kind of big back there, where he got the world record kind of thing. But people say, oh, I could do that kind of thing. It kind of encouraged them, seeing someone being successful from a, very humble background. Oh, I can be the next Usain Bolt kind of thing. So it's really, representation is also important. So someone else can see someone that looks like them in certain positions and say, oh, I can do that. So that's also very, very important.
The word that comes to my mind is inspire, right? Or
Inspire,
hope.
yeah.
If you see somebody that, like you said, kind of looks like you, or maybe is in the same like vein or area as you, then it's like, oh, well, maybe I could do better or more, or
Yeah.
whatever that might be. I can tell you, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more like, okay, maybe I can do things that I probably ruled out 20 years
Mm.
ago. Now I'm trying things and doing things that I wouldn't before, because I'm meeting others or having these kind of conversations that are like, maybe I didn't give myself credit.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think this is a great time now to hear a message from our sponsor. Welcome back, everyone. Now let's talk about where engineering is heading and how leaders like Damion are shaping the next era. So the future of engineering, DevOps, and AI. What do you think elite engineering organizations will require in the future?
A good question. I don't know. I think it's difficult to say. I don't even know what's going to ask in the next year. I mean, things move it shifts so quickly. things change so rapidly that it's a space that is like filled with so many uncertainties right now. But I think some of the few things I would say is that we'll see. I think coding is gonna die. I mean, it's gonna be cheaper now to code. The AI agents, we always say they're junior engineers, but these junior engineers are becoming mid-level engineers that become senior engineers, so or senior coders or whatever. So I would say that coding itself is going to be more. It's going to be more about prompting. It's going to be more natural in terms of the language itself. So coding itself it has become a bit cheaper as well. You're probably not going to have to think about different languages and code, different programming languages, that kind of thing. You can write it and it will develop the coding. So I think from an engineering perspective, it's really focusing you're focusing more on being a problem solver, and that's what the true essence of engineering is finding problems and trying to find ways to solve them. So it's as I mentioned before, it's looking at the problems, find creative ways, prompting, using the agents to basically build these solutions for us, being more aligned with product, being more aligned with making sure the pipelines are smooth. But yeah, I think it's going to be, as I said, also there's going to be a shift in, and we see it already in structures and in teams. There's going to be I think there's going to be a huge shift in how teams operate, how teams function, how companies are structured. There will be jobs that will be no more, I would say. The easier job is to automate, the more likely it's gonna probably disappear. But having said that, I think there's still going to be an opportunity for the creation of new opportunities, new jobs. You might see these jobs go, but you might see new opportunities emerge. So there is always, I think, an opportunity to learn. I would say the first thing, because I was looking at a stat, and I think it's something like a very, very small percentage of people actually embracing AI. So I would encourage individuals to start embracing using the tools a bit more. But yeah, I think that's it really. And I can't say what's going to happen in 5 years, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be a massive, I mean, we look 5 years from looking back after 5 years, it's like, whoa, we've gotten I mean, it's growing so exponentially now. I think it's the first time actually seeing such exponential growth and change. That is so difficult to say what it's looking like. I think the challenge you may have is we need to find solutions around governance. We need to find solutions around ethics. We need to find solutions around things like bias, and we have to find solutions around things like the environment. How is it going to impact the environment in 5 years? Also, we have to look on solutions on mental health. That's a big one. A lot of conversations needs to be had, guardrails, governance. We have to put guardrails to protect us as humans as well. Jobs are going to be displaced. How is that impacting people's mental health? It's a situation where the ceiling is raised a bit higher and the floor is also raised a bit higher. So it's going to be a lot more competition as well. So that these are the challenges that we do face. There are opportunities, but there are challenges. But we do have to get these things right. We do have to get the governance right. We do have to get the security is going to be huge, massive. I know you did the side, you're working on that side, but the security is going to be huge as well. We have to make sure it is secure. There are a lot of challenges coming out of it. So we've been moving very fast. It's fast paced. It's like we're going at 200 miles per hour, but we may have to slow down just a bit and try not to crash.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the organizations that are going to struggle the most with this are those very slow adopting
Yeah,
organizations.
yeah.
I can tell you about an interview cycle that I did where I wrote an entire AI plan for them off my own research, gave them a governance model, gave them a security, best practices, look for, as you're saying, it's ever evolving. I can tell you that I don't think they did anything with that. And then the
Mm,
news that I heard was, wow, we turned on Copilot, go do your thing. And I'm like, that is the scariest thing I've heard.
wow. Okay.
As a customer of some of their services even, I'm like, cool. So my data is exposed. That's good. It's
Mm,
like,
yeah,
it's that red flag.
yeah, yeah.
Those organizations is probably, and it's going to take me to my next point. I think those organizations may not have the skill set in house to maybe handle an AI adoption or an AI
Mm,
governance model. And going to the point I was going to make here. So, with the rise of fractional leadership, I've been seeing a lot of it. I'm considering it myself. I know I've seen a little bit, even out of your space. It seems like there's a bigger rise, and maybe companies probably need to start considering a fractional leader that they might want to bring in house for things like this to say, help us. And what would the opinions or what would the model or whatever, be told? Look at our environment and help us create a proper governance model for this. And I do think one of the things that I tell companies even to today is some of the examples I did learn from Iris, because I thought they did a pretty good AI governance model for the most part that I've seen. So
mm.
Puddle Jumper was a brilliant idea. And I do think that that data scientist that worked on that, I, I mean, I still reference him to today. I think it was a brilliant idea. He was a brilliant guy to speak with. Every time I spoke to him, I thought I was dumb and he was brilliant, just because how great
Yeah.
he was.
So simple with explanations. Yeah.
But that is a great example of, like, maybe you need somebody to come in and, kind of take the individuals who are in the weeds and go, okay, how about we work together, but you present all of the things that are in the environment. What is all known and what are the things that you're doing today? And we need to build a governance model that also educates the users, also creates that safety and security. I don't know that a lot of companies are necessarily looking at it that way. But what would your take be on, fractional leadership and what you think companies are looking at their governance and their AI and what their appetite might be for something like that?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I've been looking at space, in terms of, the fractional space. I think, it is definitely an opportunity, especially for, like, startups who probably don't have the budget to have a full CTO to be able to get someone fractionally to come in. But to your point, I think it's also an opportunity for having people to pivot into these positions of, hey, this is a problem. A lot of companies are wanting to embrace AI but don't know how to. The governance, ring fence for security, that kind of thing. So it is an opportunity for people to upskill in terms of becoming the AI engineers, becoming the go-to person, to the person who can come into these companies on a fractional level, fractionally, to say, hey, look at the systems. How can we embed AI into what you're doing? Maybe into your solutions or into your ways of working, whether it's from a technical perspective or even from any perspective, because you're using artificial intelligence in every area in a business, whether it's the HR team or anyone, But how can we securely embed, into our offerings, our services, or tools, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think there is definitely a space there and that's going to be the emerging. That's what's going to be emerging is having people with that AI knowledge, sharing that AI knowledge to, within companies to ensure that they are building and taking proper advantage of what the world is going to look like and what AI services what AI can do in terms of boosting productivity.
Yeah. It's kind of the same idea that I have
Yeah,
too, that
yeah,
they're where you're saying it's shifting roles, it's a different and it's kind of unknown and it's a little risky at the same time because you have to
yeah,
convince some of these companies also to be open about it. But at the same time, consulting has been around since way before I was on this planet.
yeah,
And it's kind of that again. And at the same time, I don't know that a lot of companies, even to the best of their abilities, or the best mindsets and the best like thinking, I don't know that they know how to look from the 1,000-foot view outside of the weeds kind of thing to make sure that they truly are okay. Like in my example of building the AI plan, I used AI on my own paid subscriptions and I pulled a lot of data that shouldn't have been out there.
yeah, absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think honestly, I did not get that job offer, and I think I could have
Mm,
scared them, but I wanted to scare them as a here's what's already out there and understand that this isn't a choice anymore. Like the boat is gone. The time for deciding to do anything with AI and getting real, it's already gone because your people are putting this stuff out there. I'm trying to show you, hey, here's what you can do. Here's a roadmap even to
Mm,
getting a handle on it.
mm,
And again, there's an example of a company that got scared and decided to go status quo and like, oh,
mm,
weird, we're launching Copilot and we're excited about it. I'm like,
mm.
it's not about Copilot launching. It's about that AI is already there and all your employees are already using it, even on their own subscriptions. And I got
Yeah.
access to it as a non-employee. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So shifting into hopefully a funner topic and a good personality segment. So just a rapid quick fire. What are your thoughts on the following? So AWS or Azure?
Wow. I've only used AWS, so I think I'll go AWS.
Ah, okay. Okay. Fair enough. Coffee shop coding or whiteboard planning?
I like a coffee shop coding. Yeah, I think I'm going with coffee shop coding. Yeah, just give me a laptop and get through some coding yeah, wherever I want to go.
Zone in and, have a good drink. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. They used to always talk about, yeah, when I moved back to Jamaica, I was like, oh, all right, you must be on the beach somewhere with your laptop now.
Yeah, I can't even fathom that being in the center of my state, surrounded by beach. Like I need to get towards the beach. Football or cricket?
Definitely football. People always say, you're West Indian. You should love cricket. I don't like cricket. Sorry. I'm an Arsenal fan. So yeah, we're taking it home.
I don't know that I sat in a meeting at Iris and didn't hear anything about a game of footy my
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
time. And that, again, another learning experience for me being like, okay, how big is the UK? And then like looking at it from a landmass perspective and then
yeah,
looking at states and then seeing like all of our sports over here and just being like, he's from, Liverpool or
yeah,
Manchester. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's like 20 minutes away. Like, it's crazy.
It's like a dot, isn't it? I know. And I just remember also, you're in the US, so it
Yeah.
must be challenged for you to say football anyway. You're more like
Yeah.
soccer, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah. It's very much soccer. I know, that's why football
Yeah.
is ingrained into my game of footy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the global that you learn, right?
Yeah. So for your US viewers, soccer we're talking about, not like NFL.
Yeah. 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 There was one individual that would talk to me about American football and didn't really know, but like said that he always liked visiting when they would come over with the
Yeah,
overseas program and everything, which is
yeah.
like really taking off now. But anyways, Copilot or Cursor?
Oh, I would say Cursor, it knows more about the code base. It's better with the code base, working with large code bases. Only thing it's a fork of the VS Code IDE. So you have to know VS Code. The only advantage Copilot would have is you can use across different IDEs. Whether it's Visual Studio, JetBrains, whatever it is, it can be used across many. But I would go Cursor. I would go Cursor. Yeah.
Microservices or monoliths?
A microservice is definitely, well, for larger, more enterprise-wide scalable solutions. Yeah. On the cloud.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
totally right.
Yeah.
And this one I bet I already know, but mentor a junior dev or a technical deep dive with a senior?
That's a tough one, actually.
Mm.
I have to say both. I like mentoring juniors. I also like to go into a technical dive. I've had great conversations with my seniors as well on design or architectural solutions or issues. So, can I say both?
I figured you'd have a challenge and you land on maybe mentoring over, but I totally get it. Being around a very in-depth conversation on where you came from and at that high level, yeah, you can say
Yeah.
both.
I can't differentiate. I love mentoring the juniors. I love speaking to juniors. I love their energy as well. They're so keen to learn. Wow.
But
Yeah.
it's a different energy with the seniors. It's just a different way that the energy is coming out. So you have a good point.
Yeah. It depends. Yeah. Because I've had good conversations. I don't know. I probably lean towards mentoring junior, but I have good conversation with the seniors. Yeah. It's a very, 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 very tight one.
So this or that, delivery or discovery?
Discovery. I like to learn and discover, and yeah.
Culture work or architecture work?
Ooh, these are tough questions. Architecture work, culture work. I don't know. Culture work. It's tight. It's that one is tight as well.
Pair programming or sync?
Pair programming,
And this one will be interesting as well. Speed or stability?
stability.
Figured enough.
When I say stability, it can go fast, but what's the point of delivering something fast if it can't be used, or the reputational damage it will have if it's not stable?
I have a rule. I actually said this almost verbatim to how I'm going to try to say here in a recent interview when I said, my rule is if you're not going to use it and it's not user friendly, or, we're talking stability here, then what is the purpose and what good is it? If I, as a consumer, wouldn't buy it, so why would I try to put it out as a business?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I did it really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that one though, just if you have the right capabilities to quickly fix the issue, if it goes out there and it's broken, it can what is blue green testing or whatever it is, it can switch back to a stable environment, then fine. So
Yeah,
that's a tricky one, yeah.
absolutely. And this is one of my favorite I've added along the way. So if DevOps or engineering had a theme song, what would it be?
Wow, if DevOps had a theme song, it's interesting that I always go to the door meetings and I always start off with what you call it? There was a spoof off of like a song, which is like a corny DevOps song. I don't know. I didn't think about this one, to be honest. What would it be?
What comes into your mind instantly when you're thinking engineering and what I do for a job?
I know. I would say, my goodness, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know. Ryan. I didn't think about this one. Sorry.
Okay. So taking us into wrapping up here and getting our lengthy podcast out of the way here, what is one lesson that you would want every engineering leader or one that's aspiring to be a leader to understand?
I think the one thing to understand is that you have to be ready to make that change. You have to understand that if you become a leader, there's a chance that you're going to be a little more distant from the coding. So if you enjoy, well, coding or development, engineering, being hands-on, you have to consider whether you're willing to take to give that up, I would say, in a sense, or to some extent. So it's not going to be the key thing you're working on. So it's really understanding that that's the situation, and also understand that you're no longer, well, I wouldn't say no longer, but you'll be more focused on the team, managing the people, building new skills. It's a whole different skill set. It's not, as I said before, becoming that accidental manager where, oh, yes, you're the best engineer on the team. So yeah, automatically become the manager. It's a whole different skill set. So it's understanding that you have to build these new skills. You have to build skills on understanding how to when to delegate, how to step away from the code itself, how to manage conflicts, how to mentor, how to coach, what else again? A lot of different. It's a whole different set of skills. That you have to basically do. You have to be in a space. I remember having a meeting with one of the seniors, and so on. Is like, opportunity to be a leader. Is like, does that mean I have to go into more meetings? Yes, you're gonna have to go into a lot of meetings. You're gonna be context switching quite a lot. You're gonna be protecting the team. You're gonna be doing all of these things. Protecting him from the, I guess the all the whatever is coming from, just really influencing them, really. Maybe think the political stuff that will come out and all that stuff. So it is a whole different ball game. So you have to really, I would say, definitely think about it. Think whether you are willing to relieve yourself from doing a lot of the coding that you have been doing in the past. Are you willing to do that? Otherwise, would you probably go into a different direction, maybe architecture or something else? But that is some of the lessons I would say. Ensure if that's the case, you want to do that, make sure that you get the proper training. It's not only just learning on the job, but you have, I think one thing that has helped me a lot in my growth, both at Access Group and at Iris, is that I was given the proper training on how to be a good how to improve myself as a leader, as a manager, building those skills. So that's what I would say.
Very valid and very true
Yeah.
advice. It's
Yeah.
totally different. skill sets, hats you wear. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what would be one invite that you would always accept?
I invite to Ryan's podcast. No, definitely. I think for me, it's gonna be like any opportunity to be able to, I've been in the game for a while now, so I think I'm happy to be invited to any opportunities I can get to share my experience, my knowledge. That it's gonna be hopefully of some use or benefit to someone else. I just realized my room is dark, but yeah, some benefit to someone else is definitely any invitation to do that, I will take up. Opportunities to network also will be key to share. Yeah. Let me just stop the light on one quickly second.
Good.
Yeah. Little
Yeah.
brighter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, networking is so important. It's one of the lessons I've relearned again. From my departure from Iris going forward was that I had put a lot of resources in a lot of areas and maybe not that one as much. And ever since then, I've just completely poured into that and met so
Yeah.
many
Oh yeah.
individuals,
Oh yeah.
really growing my network.
Yeah, no, the power of networking. I mean, I get invitations to join, like, there's a meeting somewhere here and there. I jump on it because there's so much power in networking. Absolutely.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get out of it or what will become of it at a later
Yeah,
time possibly, or,
absolutely.
hey, as
Yeah,
long as you take away something, right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So where can everybody connect with you? If they wanna find Damien for any kind of networking opportunity, maybe a fractional opportunity, maybe a job opportunity, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'll just search for Damion Mairs-Ingram and you will find me on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the best place you can get me and find me.
And, we'll absolutely include, the direct link in the below here in all of the platforms. So with that, I mean, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do this. We spent a lot of time going through all kinds of topics. Been a while since I've got to see you in some kind of form, but again, much appreciated. It was a great experience, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It was great. Good fun. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me on the on this podcast. Really great. And great seeing you again. We had some really good times when you came across the pond or to us in the UK. And yeah, so hopefully we can see each other in BD again sometime. But
I
yeah,
will be
thanks for
back
having me.
one day. Yeah, absolutely. And with that, meeting over, meeting adjourned. Decline invite out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.